Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're tackling a question that's been bugging a lot of us lately. Are sitcoms as we know them on the way out, or is there hope for a hilarious comeback?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Hmm?
I think one thing we have to acknowledge right off the bat is just how much the comedy landscape has changed. Like, you've got a whole generation growing up with TikTok as their main source of laughs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've lost an entire evening scrolling through those videos where it's one person playing like all the different characters in a family argument or something.
Exactly. And it's not just the short form format, it's the algorithms too, right? They figure out what makes you laugh, and
Right.
suddenly your feed is like this perfectly curated stream of inside jokes.
So it's like personalized comedy, basically.
Yeah, kind of. It's like having a comedian who knows your sense of humor better than you know it yourself.
Whereas network sitcoms sometimes feel like they're stuck in a different era.
It's true. You've got the perfectly lit sets, the laugh tracks, the predictable storylines.
Right, it's all very polished.
Exactly. And that can feel kind of out of touch in a world where everything is so raw and immediate.
So you're saying it's not just about the content itself, it's about the whole presentation.
Yeah, I think so. Like network sitcoms haven't quite figured out how to adapt to this new world of streaming and social media.
And there's the whole money side of things, too. I mean, sitcoms aren't exactly cheap to make, right?
Nope, they definitely aren't. You've got sets, multiple cameras, often a live studio audience. It all adds up.
And networks are businesses at the end of the day.
Exactly. So they're looking for the most cost-effective way to entertain people.
And reality TV is way cheaper than a sitcom.
Oh yeah, way cheaper.
Plus, you've got all those streaming platforms pouring money into prestige dramas.
It's like a whole different ball game now.
So sitcoms are kind of stuck in this awkward middle ground.
It seems that way.
Not cheap enough to be the easy win, and not prestigious enough to command those big budgets.
Exactly. It's tough out there for a sitcom.
So where do we go from here? Are there any shows that are trying to break out of this rut?
Oh, absolutely. Ted Lasso is a great example. It started out as this really light, feel-good comedy,
Right.
but as it went on, things got a bit more serious, a bit more dramatic.
Yeah, that definitely sparked a lot of debate online.
For sure. Some people love that it went deeper, while others felt like it lost some of its initial charm.
So it's almost like sitcoms are wrestling with this question of how much depth is too much depth.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Like, do they need to be more serious to resonate with modern audiences? Or is there still a place for just pure laugh-a-minute comedy?
I guess it comes down to finding the right balance
Hmm.
between escapism and relatability.
Right. We want to laugh, but we also want to feel like the show understands us on some level.
All right, so let's talk about one of the biggest debates in the sitcom world. Multicam versus single cam.
Oh, yeah. This is where things get heated.
Right. It's like Coke versus Pepsi for comedy fans.
Exactly. And both sides have some pretty strong arguments.
So let's start with multicam. What are the key elements that make this format so appealing?
Well, it's all about that live energy, you know? Think about the iconic sitcoms of the past. Friends, Seinfeld, Cheers. There's a rhythm to those shows, a back and forth between the actors and the audience that you just don't get with single cam.
Yeah, it's like you're part of the experience. You can almost feel the energy of the live audience.
Right. And the laugh track, as much as people love to make fun of it, plays a crucial role in creating that sense of community.
I know laugh tracks get a bad rap,
Hmm.
but there's something about hearing that collective laughter that makes me want to laugh along, even if the joke is just okay.
It's like we're all in on it together.
Exactly.
And, laughter is contagious, so a well-placed laugh track can actually make a show feel more fun and engaging.
But even with a laugh track, multicam sitcoms still live or die by the writing, right?
Oh, absolutely. The writing is the foundation of any good sitcom, regardless of the format.
So what are some of the challenges of writing for a multicam sitcom?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is delivering those big, punchy jokes that land with a live audience. It's almost like writing for stand-up, in a way.
Oh, I see. You need that instant gratification, those audible gasps and guffaw.
Exactly. You need to know right away whether or not the joke worked.
So it's a high-pressure situation.
It can be, but it can also lead to some truly iconic comedic moments.
Right. Think about the physical comedy of I Love Lucy, or the rapid-fire wit of Frasier.
Exactly. Those shows wouldn't be the same without the energy and feedback of a live audience.
So let's talk about the visual style of multicam for a second. We were talking earlier about how sitcoms can sometimes feel too polished, too perfect. Is that more of a multicam problem?
I think it can be. There's definitely a certain aesthetic associated with multicam sitcoms, that bright stage-like lighting, those wide shots that capture the entire set.
They can feel a bit artificial at times.
Yeah, especially in the age of high-definition TV, where every detail is amplified.
Right? It's like they're trying too hard to make everything look perfect, and it ends up feeling less relatable.
Exactly, and that's one of the areas where single-cam sitcoms have a distinct advantage.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, they often embrace a more naturalistic style, shooting on location using handheld cameras. It creates a more intimate, documentary-like feel.
Interesting.
It's like you're a fly on the wall observing these characters in their natural habitat.
Yeah, it feels less staged, more spontaneous.
Right, and that visual style can really enhance the humor.
Give me an example.
Well, think about shows like The Office or Parks and Recreation. That mockumentary format allows for those awkward pauses, those subtle glances, those little moments of cringe that wouldn't work as well in a traditional multicam setting.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they're capturing those unscripted moments of life that we can all relate to.
Those moments where you just want to crawl under a rock and disappear.
Exactly. And those moments can be incredibly funny because they feel so real, so human.
So it's not just about the format itself. It's about how that format is used to tell a story.
That's a great way to put it.
So let's dive into the single cam world a bit more. What are some of the key elements that make this format so unique and appealing?
Well, as we've touched on, the visual style is a big part of it. That sense of realism, of being a fly on the wall, can really draw you into the world of the show.
And without a laugh track, the humor can be more subtle, more character-driven.
Exactly. It's like the jokes are coming from the characters and their situations, rather than being force-fed to the audience.
And that can lead to a more layered, nuanced kind of humor.
Right. It's not always about the big, punchy one-liners. It's about the characters' quirks, their relationships, the often absurd situations they find themselves in.
It's like watching a really well-written play unfold. You're invested in the characters, their journeys, and the way they interact with each other.
Yeah, and single cam shows can explore a wider range of emotions, too. They can be funny, yes, but they can also be poignant, heartwarming, even heartbreaking at times.
Oh.
Think about shows like Fleabag or BoJack Horseman. Those are comedies, but they also deal with some pretty heavy themes.
It's like they're not afraid to push the boundaries of what a comedy can be.
Right. They're willing to explore the full spectrum of human experience. And that can make them incredibly relatable and emotionally resonant.
So it's not just about the format. It's about the storytelling, the characters,
Yeah.
and the willingness to take risks and explore new territory.
Exactly. And that's what makes the future of the sitcom so exciting. Both multicam and single cam have so much potential. And I think we're only just scratching the surface of what they can do.
Speaking of potential, what are some of the ways that sitcoms could evolve in the future? We talked about blending multicam and single cam elements, but are there other possibilities out there?
Oh, absolutely. I think we're living in a golden age of television with so much innovation happening across all genres.
So what would that look like in practice for sitcoms? Give me some examples.
Well, for starters, I think we'll see more sitcoms that embrace unconventional structures. Shows that play with timelines, break the fourth wall, and experiment with different narrative perspectives.
Interesting.
I also think we'll see a rise in hybrid genres, sitcoms that blend elements of drama, thriller, even horror.
Oh, now you're talking.
Shows that make you laugh one minute and have you on the edge of your seat the next.
Yeah, I love that. It's like they keep you guessing what's going to happen next.
Exactly. It keeps things fresh and exciting.
And speaking of fresh and exciting, I think it's crucial for sitcoms to showcase more diverse voices and perspectives. We need to see stories that reflect the richness and complexity of the world we live in.
I couldn't agree more. We need more sitcoms created by and starring people from all walks of life, different cultures, different backgrounds, different experiences.
Right, because that's what makes storytelling so powerful.
Exactly. It allows us to see the world through someone else's eyes and to connect with characters who might be different from us.
It's like expanding our understanding of what's funny, what's relatable, and what it means to be human.
I love that.
So if sitcoms want to not only survive, but thrive in this ever-evolving entertainment landscape, they need to be bold, innovative, and inclusive.
Absolutely. It's about taking risks, pushing boundaries, and embracing the unknown. And it's about remembering that at its heart, the sitcom is a celebration of the human experience.
It's about finding humor in the everyday, the relatable, the awkward, and the absurd.
Exactly.
It's about those moments that make us laugh, cringe, and say, oh my gosh, that's so me.
You got it.
Well, I, for one, am excited to see what the future holds for this beloved genre.
Me too. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be back here on the deep dive, dissecting some groundbreaking genre-bending sitcom that's taking the world by storm.
That's a deep dive I would definitely sign up for. But for now, we've reached the end of this exploration of sitcoms.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Likewise. And to all of you listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed this hilarious and thought-provoking journey into the world of sitcoms.
And remember, keep laughing, keep exploring, and keep those sitcom dreams alive. Yeah, so you're right. That visual style can really make a difference.
So like you said, single-cam sitcoms, they tend to go for a more natural look, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, think about those classic multicam sitcoms. You can always tell they're filmed on a soundstage.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Everything's super bright and colorful.
And the cameras are always in the same place.
It's like you can practically see the studio audience in the background.
Right. Whereas single cam shows, they often shoot on location. Or at least they try to create that illusion.
Yeah, it's all about that cinema verite feel.
Exactly. It's like you're peeking into these characters' lives.
Instead of watching them perform on a stage.
And that can make the humor feel more organic, more grounded in reality.
Okay, so we've talked about the visual style. But what about the writing? How does the writing for single-cam sitcoms differ from multicam?
Well, one of the biggest differences is the lack of a laugh track.
Ah, yes, the infamous laugh track.
It's a love-hate thing, for sure.
But you have to admit, it's kind of a staple of the multicam format.
Oh, yeah. It's practically synonymous with multicam sitcoms.
So how does the absence of a laugh track change the writing for single-cam shows?
Well, for one thing, it forces the writers to be more confident in their jokes. They can't rely on a canned laugh to tell the audience when something is funny.
They have to trust that the humor will speak for itself.
Right. And that can lead to a more subtle, more sophisticated kind of comedy.
It's like the jokes are embedded in the characters and the situations.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about hitting you over the head with punchlines.
It's about creating moments that are both funny and believable.
And sometimes those moments are funny precisely because they're so awkward or uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like when you're watching The Office and Michael Scott says something completely inappropriate.
You just want to crawl under your desk and die.
But at the same time, you can't help but laugh.
Right, because it's so cringeworthy. It's hilarious.
So it's like single-cam sitcoms allow for a wider range of comedic expression.
Absolutely. They can be silly, they can be smart, they can be dark, they can be heartwarming.
It's all about finding the right tone for the story.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that makes single-cam sitcoms so compelling. They can make you laugh one minute and then make you cry the next.
It's like they're reflecting the full spectrum of human experience.
Okay, so we've talked about multicam and single-cam, but where do we go from here? What does the future hold for this sitcom?
Well, I think the future is bright. There's so much potential for innovation and experimentation in this genre.
So what are some of the trends you're seeing?
Well, one trend I'm really excited about is the rise of hybrid sitcoms.
Hybrid sitcoms?
Yeah, shows that blend elements of comedy with other genres.
Like what?
Like drama, thriller, horror.
Ooh, that's interesting.
It's like they're breaking down those genre barriers and creating something totally new.
So give me an example.
Well, imagine a sitcom about a group of friends who start a true crime podcast.
Okay, I'm listening.
And as they investigate a real-life mystery, they start to uncover some dark secrets about their own lives.
So it's like a comedy wrapped in a thriller.
Exactly. It's funny, it's suspenseful, it keeps you guessing.
Yeah, I could definitely see that working.
I think there's a real appetite for this kind of genre-bending storytelling.
It's like people are tired of being pigeonholed.
They want shows that challenge their expectations.
And they keep them on the edge of their seats.
Right. So I think we'll see a lot more experimentation with format and genre in the years to come.
And what about diversity? Do you think sitcoms are doing a good job of representing different voices and perspectives?
I think we're making progress, but there's still a long way to go.
So what needs to change?
Well, for starters, we need more sitcoms created by and starring people from underrepresented groups.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
It's not enough to just have diverse characters. We need diverse storytellers behind the scenes as well.
Because that's how we get authentic and nuanced representations of different cultures and experiences.
Exactly.
So it sounds like the future of the sitcom is all about pushing boundaries.
I think that's a great way to put it.
It's about taking risks, experimenting with new formats and genres, and telling stories that reflect the diversity of the world we live in.
And it's about making people laugh.
Of course. Because at the end of the day, that's what sitcoms are all about.
Right. They're about finding the humor in the everyday, the relatable, the awkward, and the absurd.
And they're about reminding us that even in the midst of all the chaos and craziness of life, there's always something to smile about.
I couldn't agree more. And it's not just about representation in front of the camera.
Right.
It's about creating opportunities for writers, directors, producers from all backgrounds.
Because when you have a diversity of voices behind the scenes, you get a diversity of stories on screen.
Exactly.
And that's what makes television so exciting.
It's a window into different worlds, different perspectives, different ways of seeing the world.
So if sitcoms want to stay relevant, they need to embrace this diversity.
I think so.
They need to reflect the world as it is, not as it was 20 years ago.
Right. It's not enough to just rely on the same old formulas. They
Yeah.
need to take risks. They need to push boundaries. They need to experiment.
And they need to remember what makes sitcoms so great in the first place.
What's that?
The ability to make us laugh.
Of course.
Because laughter is a universal language.
It brings people together. It helps us cope with stress. It reminds us that we're not alone.
And that's something we all need a little bit more of these days.
I couldn't agree more.
So here's to the future of the sitcom. May it be filled with laughter, diversity, and a whole lot of heart.
Cheers to that.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of sitcoms.
It's been a fun conversation.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And to all of you listening out there, thank you for joining us. We hope this has given you some food for thought.
And maybe even inspired you to check out some new shows.
So till next time, keep laughing, keep exploring, and keep those sitcom dreams alive.